Morning, everyone. Thank you, Mike, and thank you all for coming out on this beautiful North Dakota fall morning. On behalf of Lieutenant Governor Tammy Miller, who's here, our legislators that are here, Austin Schauer, Mike Belts, we want to, and all of the other people who participated in this housing initiative, I want to say thank you for coming here this morning. We're here to announce the recommendations on how to improve housing availability, affordability, and stability across the state of North Dakota. And this is, of course, the work of the North Dakota Housing Initiative Advisory Committee. We first talked about this last year during the State of the State. We got busy last spring working on recruiting people. I think there was close to 30 people that were on this advisory committee. We'll talk a little bit about the work that they did, but as we head into this legislative session, we're going to be making a proposal which we're announcing today. But I think the key thing is to start, why are we here? You don't begin with a why, but I think we all know that every North Dakotan should have an opportunity to have safe, affordable, and quality housing. The good news is the vast majority of our state has that. But we're growing, and our economy's growing, and one of the things that we know is that we can't grow unless we've got workforce, and we know that we're having challenges with workforce coming to our state because housing in certain markets and certain places in the state has gotten very tight. When we worked on this thing, we want to keep growing the economy. We want to attract and retain workers. We want to reduce the barriers to workforce participation, just like we did with the child care effort last year. This was something that went through a similar process where we gathered people, got input from across the state, put together a comprehensive proposal. The legislature embraced it, and wow, is it making a difference for child care providers, for families, getting people back into the workforce. Really working. And of course there we were focused on quality, accessibility, and affordability, so some of the same elements here. But housing is a very difficult and complex topic, and our committee talked about that, learned about that when we held listening sessions around the state, but it's just as complex and diverse as our state is. We've had employers that have told us here they couldn't hire workers in North Dakota because they couldn't get child care spots. They'd given them a job, they wanted to move back, and like, hey, we can't leave because we can't find child care. That was 2 years ago. Now we're hearing from people that, hey, we gave somebody an offer. There's no income restrictions. There's a dual career young family. They want to move back to North Dakota. One of them's from here. Their parents are here. They want to get back home. They get a job offer in a community like Bismarck. They come and they search and search and search, and they can't find a home that fits their budget, so they end up declining the job. We also know that on the other end of the spectrum, that we have people that fall on hard times, whether it's a medical emergency, whether it's domestic violence often leaves people unhoused, or whether they're just on the low end of the housing scale. They lose a job, they get laid off, they can't make rent, and then they fall out of having home security. And if they fall into that category of homelessness, that creates cost for everyone. And I think we have to, one of the things that the Housing Advisory Committee did a great job of was trying to reframe the stereotype of homeless. When we say the word homeless, we think of somebody on the street in an urban area that may be dealing with complex behavioral mental health addiction issues. But we have a lot of people that can be homeless that are working mothers with kids that just couldn't make the rent, and they're in a spot there. So we have to think about the whole range of this complexity. We also know that we've got markets across the state that are very tight on housing. We have other markets in small communities in parts of our state where you could walk in and buy a home for an unbelievably low price because we still have some communities who are declining in population. So we were successful last session when we addressed this child care with a $66 million comprehensive package, which created thousands of new child care slots, added stability to the child care sector, and similarly we're doing that here with this 10-month effort. And again, I already gave him a call out, but Representative Mike Belts, who's from the Hillsborough, he's going to be speaking. Representative Austin Schauer, who's here, both part of the committee. In addition to them, who are not here today, Senator Brad Becketall from Williston, which of course has got a different set of housing challenges up in Williston that they've gone through the last 14 years, and Senator Beckedahl certainly knows about that from his work there on the Williston City Commission. And then Senator Dean Rummel from Dickinson, who's got challenges also because of being more of a high-growth state. I also want to give a shout out and gratitude to Jessica Thomason from Health and Human Services from North Dakota for leading this effort. We've also got state partners. My colleague and friend Dave Floor from the Housing Finance Agency is here. That group has done incredible work. We'll talk a little bit about that, but incredible asset for the state of North Dakota. Sean Kessel from Commerce, Kylie Merkel from the Bank of North Dakota. Those two agencies play a big role in this. They also serve on this committee, and then on the governor's staff, working hard on this throughout the last year, Maria Nessert, Zach Greenberg, and Danielle Hopkins. So this is where we are today. Part of what we did, just like on child care, is we listened. We went out and held roundtable conversations in Bismarck and Harvey and Fargo and Williston, and at the government-to-government conference, which is our tribal conference, to hear from people about what matters in the housing markets that they know and what's working and what's not working. I was able to attend a number of these listening sessions, and I tell you, from the first you think you know housing, and then you get in a room with people that are everybody from realtors to contractors to city officials, and the learning starts when the first person starts talking. We learned a lot about how the challenges are different across the state, but how there are some similarities. But one thing we certainly learned is that healthy communities need healthy housing markets, and movement within markets is key. And I'm just going to expand on that for a second. We heard about we got a period of high interest rates, and someone's got a mortgage on their house with a low interest rate. All their kids move out, and they're in a 4-bedroom house, and there's 2 of them living there, and they might be in Arizona half the year, but they don't want to sell their house to a young family that's got 3 kids because jumping to a new mortgage keeps them locked in. And then those people that may be on that end of the scale that are retiring, and then a place like Williston, and say, hey, can I get a slab-on-grade, single-story, accessible for someone who's moving into senior living, but I'm not ready for assisted living. I just want to live in a place where I don't have steps and stairways and do whatever. And then people say, well, there's none available in the entire market, like 0 of these things available. So part of it is the product diversity. And we're definitely on what we'd call starter homes. I mean, a starter home is something that's affordable for someone that's starting out, young family, career. But if you show up in Bismarck, in a starter home might be over $400,000. That's not a starter home at these interest rates. So we've got to address these markets, and the key is the movement of getting people buying and selling and moving into the kind of housing they want, which means we've got to have more diversity of the offering. So broadly, this is it's a community infrastructure opportunity, but it's also a workforce issue, because in many cases we learned right from the get-go, which is the home builder said, I can't get enough people to work for me in the trades. And we also learned about red tape as another thing that was immediately, some of the roundtables we were in, they said that 10 to 15% of the cost of a home they were building was because of red tape, and a lot of that red tape can be driven by local ordinances. Think about that if a $400,000 home was suddenly $40,000 cheaper just because we changed the way we thought about some of the rules. So when housing crises do occur, we hope they're going to be rare and brief, and stability is the key. But across any population in our country, even in a place where the economy is booming, unemployment is low, we've got the fastest growing GDP and the lowest unemployment. We're a very strong economy, but we still can have anywhere between 1 to 3% of our people that lose their housing in a year. They're either going to lose it or at the risk of losing it. And we want home ownership to be part of the American dream for everyone. So part of it is what we're trying to achieve here with this healthy local housing markets. We've got a comprehensive plan. I want to jump in and talk about that. Hopefully this plan would allow each community to capitalize on their strengths, make local sound planning decisions to create vibrant places to work and to live. So we got an opportunity to do something big. The top line of this is that the recommendation that the committee is forwarding and is going to be included in the governor's budget, which we'll introduce in the first week in January, is a $96 million package across 6 buckets, and I'll outline each of those briefly. First one I touched on, which is red tape reduction. We can support local housing efforts. We can get the red tape out of the way of the builders that are describing how these costs through red tape are driving up the cost for them, and sometimes driving up the cost and not increasing safety. We can find a balance when we talk about zoning codes, building permits, updating comprehensive housing plans. There's a lot of things we can do, and we can do that, and we can not at all risk health and safety considerations that come with building codes. We can do that, but we also can get more product in the market. Some of that may be that we've got to make sure that we've, as the manufactured home moves from what we might traditionally think about with mobile homes, which people think is substandard. There's a whole new industry coming. We've got to attract it to North Dakota, but there's a way to lower the cost of home building with modular or manufactured housing as a key part of that. It hasn't really arrived here, but it's one of the things that other states are moving to, and we've got to think about making sure our code allows that to happen. So there is we'll be providing some flexible grants to local governments and working to try to create some comprehensive alternatives so we can have codes that work for North Dakota. Many cities actually just adopt at their city commission a set of national or even international codes and just take the whole thing and say, this is our codes for building in our city. And some of those don't have any relevance at all to what we might be seeing here in North Dakota. So opportunity there. That's low dollars, big opportunity on red tape reduction. The vibrant housing markets, the second one, is we want to give grants to those that are willing to explore innovative methods for building residential housing. Two things: the neighborhood grant, builder grant for small-scale urban projects, community builder grant for small-scale rural. We've basically broken this program into two to differentiate between the needs between urban and rural, but there are some interesting things that are going on there, and there are some things that are happening with CTE and with tech. Bismarck State College, for example, is working on getting some serious equipment that would allow you to do 3D printing of major components of a home to help lower the cost and speed the capability of getting that done. Third is on financing innovations. We're fortunate in North Dakota, between the Bank of North Dakota, Commerce, and the North Dakota Housing Finance Agency, that we've got great, strong institutions that have had a big impact across our state for decades and decades. But there's more that we can do. This is the largest category, and we're recommending gap financing for both single and multifamily construction by leveraging the very successful North Dakota Housing Incentive Fund. Housing Incentive Fund, or HIF, is a state-funded gap financing program. It's used with both federal and private dollars to create affordable multifamily in both urban and rural. North Dakota Housing Finance administers this program, and these are upfront, one-time HIF investments, and they ensure rental homes will be affordable for a minimum of 15 years. On average, HIF covers 20% of the gap financing needed to move a project forward, and sometimes that gap is the difference between a project being built or not. The Legislative Assembly created the Housing Incentive Fund back in 2011 at the beginning of the most recent oil boom that we had. To date, there's been $105 million invested in that. That's resulted in 88 unique projects, over 3,000 affordable rental homes, and legislators approved last year again another just about $14 million in HIF. We'll be making a strong recommendation for continued investment in that going forward. And this category also includes, this broader category outside of the HIF includes grants for producing or preserving entry-level housing, low-interest construction loans, and for builders that are producing housing that meets the high priority goals related to entry-level homes, aging in place, which I talked about earlier, friendly designs, and leveraging existing infrastructure. And the key point there on leveraging existing infrastructure, I want to be clear, there's been a lot of attention about property taxes and concern. None of the programs we're talking about today are going to be directed towards greenfield or new infrastructure. We have to invest in places where we've got existing infrastructure. If we can get more dollars and more housing and more people living in a place where we've already are paying for a street, a road, a sidewalk, a sewer, garbage collection, police, all of the services, fire protection that go there, if we can invest in those neighborhoods, each time we do that, we're increasing the numerator. in terms of the amount of dollars that are helping to pay for the infrastructure and the services. When we go to the edge, and then we're taking new tax dollars, building greenfield, raising the cost for everyone, including in the older parts of the community. So we have to get smarter about the economics of cities, and infill is going to be a key part of how we lower the cost of because if you buy a new house on the edge, part of that cost is new sewer, new water, new road, new street, new police, new fire station, new school, new everything. And so we can reverse that by just turning inwards to all the space we have in our existing opportunities where we've got existing infrastructure. We also want to incentivize partnerships with lenders to replicate their community-based low-interest loan programs to make it easier for homeowners. We're going to hear from Kim Settle. She's going to be up here, but I want to give a shout out to Gate City. Gate City Bank has a program like this. It's been very effective, and we want to model that, to replicate that at other banks across the state. So using our state, Commerce, North Dakota Housing Finance Association, and the Bank of North Dakota, but also we've got all these great community banks giving those folks that can model after Gate City is another way to help us incentivize these partnerships. Homelessness is a component, and any comprehensive housing plan must also address those that fall out of the bottom, and that includes emergency shelter operating funds and rapid rehousing. Rapid rehousing, think about that from that is working with organizations like the YWCA, Rape and Abuse Crisis Centers, and other organizations where people may rapidly find themselves and their children without a home. And so that's why I say it's not just about individuals, it's about families. We also have to pay attention to military veterans. Yesterday was Veterans Day. Many of you helped celebrate that yesterday as we honor those veterans, but it still holds true today that there are many military veterans that are experiencing a housing crisis, and we want to pay special attention to them. And as I mentioned earlier, breaking this mold of how we think about homelessness, about 1/3 of households that are experiencing homelessness are actually families with children. So the next one category is called financial coaching. And this is a key thing. We've got a broader effort going on at the state about financial literacy. But one of the things that we know that here when it comes to housing, there are things that we can do on eviction prevention, education, and counseling, housing assistance to people at the highest risk of housing instability. We do require that if we're giving that housing assistance, that they're required to take specialized financial literacy coaching for people that are going to be receiving that direct housing assistance, because we just want to make sure that people understand on this side, on the financial side of things, that both the responsibilities and the opportunities within home ownership. Also, incentivizing home renovations and housing rehab. These are two things where, again, sometimes if someone has a medical emergency, they live in a home that doesn't have handicap access, there are programs that have got both federal and state funds. Programs like North Dakota Assistive does a great job. Coming in, adding ramps, doing that permanently, temporarily, different things. But there's ways where we can help keep people in their homes at a lower cost, and at a far lower cost, because if somebody has to move out of their home because of an injury, or they're confined to a wheelchair, and then they end up in long-term care, then we're looking at $10,000, $12,000, $14,000 a month. We can do a lot in terms of working on housing rehab and these incentivizing home renovations to help keep people in their homes and save our taxpayer dollars. Construction workforce. One of the things that we've done, the legislature's done a fantastic job on with our creating the CTE centers. The legislature approved $68 million in matching funds, $20 million in federal funds to support 13 new academies. I've been to multiple ribbon cuttings for these across the state. I was just in one in Dickinson in the old Halliburton here this fall. I think they've already got a record number of, they may have the highest number of CTE students of any place in the state. They're serving half a dozen Class B schools as well as Dickinson. They have 2,879 class enrollments That's 2.7 classes per student, 7 high schools, homeschoolers, 4 different districts. This just opened. I mean, it's an incredible success. But part of when we're saying this is we've got to grow trades. We don't have enough trade workers in the state, and these are incredible jobs. They're in high demand. They pay great. You have no college debt. Get your career going. We talk all the time about being choice ready for whether it's college ready, military ready, or career ready. The career opportunities have never been higher in our state, and I want to thank the legislature again for their support. They're changing lives in terms of bringing in a whole new generation of workforce without college debt to our state. So with that, I want to close by saying the net of all these programs across this $96 million is going to can have a big impact. We can utilize existing infrastructure in our cities. We can maximize the use of the housing stock that already exists. We can lower the burden of property taxes when we implement these. And we have all of you have an opportunity to help champion this initiative, because when we do that, we get more workers coming to North Dakota. It's still our biggest challenge. We still have over 30,000 estimated jobs open in the state, from healthcare to oil field workers. Every time we fill one of those positions, we've got somebody else that's helping to pay sales tax, somebody else that's helping that company grow, somebody that's moving our country and our economy forward. So with that, we can work together to create an environment where we've got a healthy private housing market to make it possible for North Dakota workers to build a good life for themselves and their family. And when we do that, then we accomplish those 6 powerful words that we talk about all the time in our administration, which is empower people, improve lives, and inspire success. So thanks for being here today. Thanks to the committee for all the great work that they did over the past 10 months. Thanks again to Lieutenant Governor Miller and the legislator. And next, we got 2 speakers we're going to hear from today. And we got the whole group is coming up that was part of that. Thank you all the people that served on the committee, but I'm going to turn it over to Representative Mike Belts, and then following him is going to be Kim Settle from Gate City Bank and the North Dakota Bankers Association. Thank you. Mike.
Good morning. Thank you, Governor, and to fellow advisory committee members who are here today. Thank you for the opportunity to serve on the advisory committee, for your service to the great state of North Dakota, and I wish you well in your future endeavors moving forward. Housing is a workforce and beyond issue. There is a role for both the state and the federal to work in this space, whether it be infrastructure, financing, and the like. There's certainly opportunities there. We can assist where it makes sense, and stay out of the way where it also is prudent to do as well. As the Governor has mentioned, we can both assist, and sometimes the assistance is just staying out of the way. Housing is a local issue, and it requires champions to make that happen at the local level. Whether it's economic development, people do a phenomenal job in that area, or local mayors, councils, county boards, township officers, whatever it may be. There's also, as the Governor pointed out, there's a difference between urban and rural development. Logistically, it's easier for builders to work in urban areas because they have access to labor, and it just makes their efforts easier on that front. As the Governor also mentioned, all of this needs to be done efficiently to take advantage of the infrastructure we already have, rather than building new, which is costly on that front. The single best thing you can do for a homeless person is put a roof over their head. It provides them stability and exponentially increases the opportunity for positive outcomes on that front. And in closing, what type of housing do we need in North Dakota? All of them. Thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Kim Settle. I'm the Executive Vice President of Retail Banking and Lending at Gate City Bank. It's my honor to be here today, as well as to have served on the Advisory Council for the North Dakota Housing Initiative. The North Dakota Housing Initiative Advisory Council was comprised of a spectrum of great leaders throughout North Dakota with a common mission and passion in mind of how we were going to address obstacles with regard to housing throughout North Dakota. This process started with various ideation sessions, as well as being able to learn from external subject matter experts in things like demographics, as well as the different challenges between rural and metro communities. And through this process, we also learned the importance of housing on workforce and the continued prosperity of the great state of North Dakota. As we looked at all of this information, including the listening sessions, which helped us to prioritize what the biggest impacts would be and where the biggest challenges were, we were able to look at a few items, and this is not an all-inclusive list, but certainly financing, inventory, construction, the unhomed, the missing middle, and again, that impact to workforce and the prosperity of North Dakota. There's certainly not one size fits all. Housing markets are different throughout the state, but this also looks at the commonalities as well as the uniquenesses of those homes and markets. And I know the governor has great passion for gratitude, so I will close by saying I'm extremely grateful for have been able to be on this council. I am grateful to my council members, and I'm grateful to the governor's team for their dedication and collaboration. And thank you, Governor Burgum, for allowing us to be a part of North Dakota history through this initiative. So.
Mike, what's the plan now?
We're going to wrap it up. If anybody has questions, it's cold out here.
Okay.
Questions afterwards.
Okay, we're going to wrap up the official thing, and there's going to be some availability, I guess, here with Michael, get a little gaggle going, and if we've got some folks from the advisory committee that also want to be available for questions, that'd be great. But again, thank you all for coming out this morning. Let's give it up one more time for this great advisory group that put together all these great ideas. Yeah, and we'll take a group photo here before you guys all disperse.
Let me just move this quick.
Where do you want us, Mike?
I think right here.